am a dedicated and good woman. I was always loyal to my husband and never disrespected him in my life. But what I've done, I did it on the heat of the moment. I wanted to. I won't negate that. But I recognize it now. I was wrong and shouldn't have done that to him. This is the story of how I did what I've done. I'm not here to beg forgiveness, but I just ask you to understand my side. As I stood in the living room, the faint ticking of the clock on the wall amplified my heart's frantic rhythm. I could hardly breathe, my palms sweaty as I fidgeted with the handcuffs in my hands. This was it, the moment of truth. Daniel would be home any minute, and my carefully crafted plan was set in motion. I had never imagined I would resort to such extremes, but the gnawing suspicion in my gut wouldn't let go. The rumors whispered in the corners of my mind, like shadows lurking in the light, had become too loud to ignore. I glanced around the room, taking in the chaos I had created. The coffee table was strewn with scattered papers, a clear sign of the turmoil brewing beneath the surface of our seemingly perfect life. I had pulled out the duct tape from the garage. It felt wrong, almost too theatrical, but desperation has a way of justifying the unthinkable. I cleared my throat, rehearsing the words I would say. I just wanted the truth, Daniel. I had to know. But would he even listen? The sound of the front door creaking open sent a jolt through me. He was home. My breath caught in my throat as I quickly ducked behind the couch, heart pounding like a war drum. I could hear his footsteps, the way he kicked off his shoes, the soft rustle of his jacket as he hung it on the hook. "Sarah," he called, his voice echoing through the silence. I bit my lip, trying to suppress the swell of fear and anticipation. This was the moment I had planned for, but now that it was here, I was engulfed by uncertainty. What if I was wrong? What if this was all a big mistake? "Sarah?" he called again, this time with a hint of concern. I took a deep breath, readying myself. As he stepped into the living room, I could see his expression shift from confusion to shock. The sight of me, crouched behind the couch with handcuffs and duct tape in hand, must have been jarring. "What the hell is this?" he shouted, eyes widening in disbelief. I stood up slowly, the weight of my plan crashing down on me. I needed to know, Daniel. I heard things. Rumors." My voice trembled, and I felt a wave of humiliation wash over me. "Rumors? Is that what this is about?" His anger flared, and I could see the hurt etched on his face. "You think you can just trap me like this? What the hell is wrong with you, Sarah?" "I'm doing this because I care," I shot back, my voice rising in defiance. "I needed to see the truth, to know if you were betraying me like everyone says." He stepped closer, the tension in the room thickening. "You've lost your mind. You think this is how you get answers? By humiliating me? By this?" He gestured wildly at the scene I had orchestrated, his face a mixture of anger and anguish. I swallowed hard, the realization hitting me like a punch to the gut. "I just wanted to find out the truth. I thought you were cheating on me." "Cheating? Sarah, I can't believe you would even think that. This is insane." His voice shook with a mix of rage and disbelief. "You're accusing me based on what? Some stupid gossip? Have you lost faith in me completely?" The words stung, and I could feel the walls of my fragile reality crumbling around me. I wanted to defend myself, to explain my actions, but every word felt like it would only dig the hole deeper. "I'm sorry," I finally whispered, the fight leaving my voice. I thought if I confronted you this way, I'd get a real answer." "Real answer," he echoed, his tone incredulous. "You think this is how you get honesty? By turning our home into a scene from a bad movie?" The anger in his voice cut deeper than I anticipated. You don't understand, I pleaded, desperation creeping in. I needed to know. I had to know. Daniel's eyes burned with hurt as he took a step back, shaking his head slowly. This isn't how you fix things, Sarah. This is how you destroy them. With that, he turned on his heel, storming out of the room, leaving me alone with the remnants of my misguided plan. The silence that followed was deafening, and I felt the weight of my actions crushing down on me, leaving me to grapple with the consequences of a choice that may have irrevocably changed everything. As I stood there, my heart pounding in my chest, I felt a mix of vindication and dread coursing through my veins. The sight of Daniel, wide-eyed and speechless in the living room, was what I had envisioned all along. The handcuffs and duct tape lay ominously on the coffee table, a stark testament to my desperation. I had thought that this would be the moment when everything made sense, when he would confess to the betrayal I had long suspected. Sarah, what the hell is this? Daniel's voice broke through my chaotic thoughts, his brow furrowed in disbelief. The anger radiating off him was palpable, and yet I stood my ground, fueled by the whispers I had heard from friends who claimed to have seen him with another woman. You know exactly what this is, Daniel. I'm done pretending everything is fine while you're out there cheating on me, I shouted, my voice cracking with emotion. I could see the hurt in his eyes, but it only stoked the fires of my anger. Cheating? Are you serious? Where is this coming from? He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture I recognized all too well. It was the same gesture he made when he was frustrated, and right now, he looked completely bewildered. Don't act like you don't know. Lisa saw you at that bar last week, and she said you were all over some woman. I spat, the words tumbling out in a rush. I felt a surge of adrenaline as I accused him, but deep down, a tiny voice whispered that perhaps I was overreacting. Lisa, you're basing this on what Lisa said? His incredulity hung in the air like a thick fog. You're going to ruin our lives over a rumor? I could see him struggling to comprehend the situation, his expression shifting from shock to anger. You've got to be kidding me, Sarah. I can't believe you would do this. You think I'm unfaithful? After everything we've built together? His words cut me deeper than I anticipated. I wanted to scream that I was protecting myself, that I had to take action before I was the one left broken. But instead, I felt the weight of my own insecurities pressing down on me. Was I really willing to destroy everything over hearsay? Maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to hang out at a bar, I countered, my voice rising. You should have thought about it before you made me feel like I was losing you. Sarah, this is insane. I can't believe you would put me in handcuffs and humiliate me like this, he said, his voice a mixture of anger and disbelief. I thought we were better than this. I thought you trusted me. His words struck a chord, and for a moment I faltered. Did I trust him? The confidence I had felt moments ago began to wane, replaced by a gnawing doubt. But I couldn't back down now, not after everything I had done to prove my point. Trust is earned, Daniel, and right now, you're not earning it. My voice trembled, but I pressed on, desperate to maintain my stance. I just wanted the truth. I wanted you to be honest with me. I can't believe you'd go to these lengths to prove a point, he said, shaking his head. His expression was a mix of disappointment and anger, and it pierced through me like a dagger. Maybe I should just leave. If this is how you really feel, I don't know if I want to be part of this anymore. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. What do you mean, leave? My voice dropped, panic creeping in. You can't just walk out. We can fix this. But he was already moving towards the door, each step a reminder of the chasm that had formed between us. I can't do this, Sarah. I need time to think. With that, he opened the door and stepped out into the night, leaving me alone in the desolation of our living room. As the door clicked shut, I felt the weight of my actions crashing down on me. I was left standing in the aftermath of my own making, surrounded by the remnants of what had once been a loving home. Regret washed over me like a tidal wave, leaving me gasping for air. Was I really willing to sacrifice our marriage on the altar of suspicion? "Daniel!" I called out, but my voice echoed back to me, hollow and empty. I sank to the floor, the reality of my choices settling in like a heavy shroud. What had I done? I sat on the edge of our bed, the weight of the confrontation still heavy in the air, like a thick fog refusing to lift. I could still feel the tremor in my hands from the adrenaline of the previous night. Daniel's face, twisted in disbelief and hurt, played on a loop in my mind. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had crossed a line, one that might not be possible to uncross. The house was eerily quiet. I glanced around the room, taking in the remnants of our once happy life together. The framed pictures on the walls told stories of laughter, vacations, and milestones. We had been so in love, and now it felt like we were in a war zone, with each accusation a grenade tossed back and forth. Where had it all gone wrong? I pulled out my phone, contemplating texting Daniel to apologize, but a swell of pride stopped me. I was the one who had been wronged, wasn't I? I should have felt justified, but instead, I felt hollow. The rumors had shaken me to my core, and in my desperation to protect myself, I had hurt the one person I should have trusted the most. "I can't believe you would do this to me," I muttered to myself, frustration bubbling to the surface. "You think I'm the crazy one?" Just then, my phone buzzed, drawing my attention. It was a message from my friend Lisa, checking in on me after the fallout. "Hey, how are you holding up?" I hesitated, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. Do I share my shame? Or do I pretend everything is fine? "Not great. Daniel and I had a huge fight," I typed back, then immediately regretted it. "Do you want to talk?" she replied, and I felt a flicker of warmth at her concern. I took a deep breath, trying to clear my mind. "Yeah, I think I need to." Meanwhile, Daniel sat in Mike's living room, the tension palpable between them. He stared out the window, watching the leaves sway in the wind, feeling as if his entire life was being swept away with them. "Dude, you can't just let her walk all over you like this," Mike said, his voice firm but laced with concern. "You need to fight back. She's manipulating you." "I don't want to fight, Mike. I just want her to understand that I'm not the person she thinks I am," Daniel replied, his voice cracking. "She humiliated me, Mike, in our own home. I don't even recognize her anymore." "You're better than this, man. You can't let her think she can get away with it. If you just sit back and take it, she'll keep coming at you," Mike urged, leaning forward, his expression serious. Daniel sighed, running a hand through his hair. "What do you suggest I do? I can't just turn around and accuse her of something she might not have even done." "Then show her that you're not the one who should be on trial here. You have to stand your ground, Daniel. Make her see the truth." Daniel's heart raced at the thought of fighting back, but a part of him felt conflicted. He had always been the peacemaker, the one who sought resolution rather than conflict. "Maybe you're right," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. "But I don't want this to turn into a war." Back at home, I paced the floor, my mind racing with thoughts of reconciliation. Despite everything, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wanted my marriage back. I thought about how to approach Daniel, to show him that I was willing to put in the effort to fix things. As I stood by the front window, I noticed the sun setting, casting a golden hue over the street. A part of me longed for our evenings together, enjoying a glass of wine while talking about our day. I needed to show him I was serious about making amends. Maybe I can do something special tonight, I murmured to myself. A candlelit dinner? Something to remind him of the good times. I grabbed my phone again, ready to text him, but hesitated. What if he didn't want to come home? What if he was already too far gone? Taking a deep breath, I texted, "Can we talk tonight? I want to make things right." I hit send, my heart pounding as I waited for a reply, hoping against hope that he would agree. The silence in the house felt deafening, and I realized that I was at the mercy of my own choices. Would Daniel be willing to listen, or were we too far down this dark path to find our way back? The days following our disastrous confrontation felt like a whirlwind of chaos. I was determined to win Daniel back, but I was also aware that my actions had only pushed him further away. I needed to show him that I loved him, that I was still the devoted wife he once knew. But how could I do that after everything that had happened? One evening, I decided to surprise him with a romantic dinner at his favorite restaurant. I wanted to create a scene that would remind him of the good times we had shared. I spent hours preparing, choosing the perfect outfit, a red dress that hugged my curves, hoping it would ignite a spark of desire in him. As I applied my lipstick in the mirror, I rehearsed what I would say. "Daniel, I'm sorry. I want to fix this," I whispered to my reflection, my heart racing with hope. When I arrived at the restaurant, the ambiance was enchanting. The soft glow of candlelight flickered, casting shadows that danced around the room. I scanned the crowd, my heartbeat quickening as I spotted him at a corner table, engrossed in conversation with a coworker. He looked so handsome, yet so distant. I approached him, stealing a deep breath before interrupting his conversation. "Daniel?" I exclaimed, trying to sound enthusiastic, but my voice wavered slightly. He turned to me, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. "Sarah, what are you doing here?" "I wanted to surprise you," I replied, forcing a smile. "I thought we could have dinner together." He glanced back at his coworker, who raised an eyebrow with a knowing look before excusing himself. Daniel's expression was unreadable as he leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "I really don't think this is a good idea." "Why not? We can talk. We can fix things," I pleaded, my voice dropping to a whisper. "Please, Daniel." He sighed, rubbing his temples as if I were giving him a headache. "Sarah, it's not that simple. You humiliated me, and now everyone at work knows about our issues. I can't just pretend like nothing happened. Let's just have dinner. Just us. No one else," I insisted, desperate for a connection, for a sign that he still cared. He hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. "Fine, but I'm not promising anything." As we sat across from each other, I tried to steer the conversation toward lighter topics, reminiscing about our first date and the silly things we used to do. But the tension hung thick in the air, and Daniel remained withdrawn, occasionally glancing at his phone, his disinterest palpable. "Are you even listening to me?" I asked, my frustration bubbling to the surface. "Of course I am," he replied, but his tone was flat, devoid of the warmth I craved. "It's just hard to focus when I'm worried about what people are saying." "Stop thinking about them! This is about us!" I snapped, my heart racing as the emotions boiled over. "I'm trying to make this work, Daniel." He looked at me, really looked at me, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of the man I once loved, but it quickly faded as he leaned forward, his voice low and serious. "I can't be with someone who doesn't trust me, Sarah. You need to understand that." I felt the heat rise to my cheeks, humiliation washing over me again, but I was desperate. "I can prove it to you. Just give me a chance." "I can't keep doing this," he said, shaking his head as he stood up abruptly. "I have to go." "Daniel," I called after him, but he walked away, leaving me alone at the table, feeling the weight of my actions crushing me. The following days were filled with a mix of desperation and determination. I began to think of more drastic measures to win him back. I started showing up at his workplace, bringing him lunch, trying to spark conversations with his colleagues, but each interaction felt like a step backward. "Sarah, you need to stop," one of his coworkers said with concern. "You're making him uncomfortable." "Uncomfortable? I'm just trying to show him I care," I snapped back, feeling the sting of their judgment. But deep down, I knew they were right. I was losing control. Meanwhile, I noticed Daniel becoming more distant, sharing snippets of our struggles with his coworkers, painting me as the unstable one. I felt betrayed, as if he was weaponizing our past against me. One night, as I sat alone in our living room, I scrolled through social media, my heart aching at the images of couples happily posting about their lives. It was then that I stumbled upon a post by one of Daniel's friends, a photo of him at a bar, looking relaxed and carefree. The caption read, "Good times with the guys. Cheers to the single life." A knot formed in my stomach. Was he moving on already? Frustration bubbled within me, and just as I was about to throw my phone against the wall, I spotted something that made my blood run cold. A message from an unknown number popped up, hinting at Daniel's secret meetings with a divorce attorney. I felt the world around me collapse. This was the breaking point. I had to act fast before it was too late. I stood in the living room, the atmosphere thick with tension. The remnants of my last desperate attempt to win back Daniel still hung in the air like a fog. My heart raced as I contemplated my next move. It was time to take this game to a new level. I felt betrayed not just by Daniel, but by the very essence of our shared life. How could he walk away so easily? As I sat on the edge of the couch, the dim light casting shadows on the walls, I pulled out my phone. I had heard whispers from friends about Daniel's past, things that could tarnish his reputation and turn the tide in my favor. I knew it was wrong, but the anger coursing through my veins drowned out any moral hesitation. I needed to make him feel the weight of his decisions. My fingers danced over the screen as I began to type a message to a few close friends. "Hey, have you ever heard about Daniel's history with his ex? It's not just a bitter breakup. There's more to the story." I hit send, a thrill of excitement and dread racing through me. This was my chance to discredit him, to show everyone what kind of man he really was. The next day, as I walked through the neighborhood, I could already sense the murmur of gossip swirling around me. I caught snippets of conversation as I passed my neighbors. "Did you hear about Daniel?" one woman whispered to another. My heart sank. My plan was working, but at what cost? That evening, Daniel came home, his face clouded with the weight of the world. I feigned ignorance, but I could tell he was on edge. "What's wrong?" I asked, my voice dripping with false concern. "People are talking," he replied, his voice low and steady. "About things that aren't true. You know what I mean, Sarah." I held my breath, the thrill of my scheme turning to a knot of anxiety in my stomach. What are they saying? I tried to keep my tone casual, but my heart raced. "That I've cheated on you, that I'm some kind of monster," he said, stepping closer, his eyes narrowing. "I know where this is coming from. You're trying to ruin me, aren't you?" "Don't be ridiculous, Daniel. I'm just trying to understand," I said, though I felt like a child caught with my hand in the cookie jar. "Understand what? That you're the one spreading rumors? You think this will make me want you back?" He scoffed, running his fingers through his hair, frustration etched on his face. "Maybe if you hadn't turned your back on me, I wouldn't have to," I shot back, my voice rising. "You left me no choice." "You're a manipulator, Sarah. It's disgusting," he said, his voice cold as ice. "You're making yourself the villain in this story." I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks, anger and shame battling for dominance. "I'm not the villain here. I just wanted you to see how much I care." He stepped back, shaking his head as if he couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Caring doesn't mean destroying someone's life. You've lost yourself in this madness." As he turned to leave, a wave of panic washed over me. "Where are you going?" I called out, desperation creeping into my voice. "Out! I can't be around you right now," he said, slamming the door behind him. I stood there, the echo of the door reverberating in the silence that followed. Hours later, as I sat alone in the dark, my phone buzzed with a new message. My heart skipped a beat when I saw the unknown number. I hesitated, then opened it. "You need to know the truth about Daniel. He's not who you think he is." A chill ran down my spine. Curiosity battled with fear as my mind raced. What did this person know? I felt a surge of determination. I had to find out what lay behind the veil of Daniel's past. I needed to uncover the truth for myself, but more importantly, for him. As I stared at the screen, my heart pounding, I realized this could either save us or destroy us completely. And I was terrified of which path I would ultimately choose. As I sat on our bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind raced with thoughts of Daniel's past, the rumors, and the strange message I received. The revelation about his ex-girlfriend, Taylor, nagged at me like a persistent itch I couldn't scratch. The more I thought about it, the more I felt the need to dig deeper. What if she had sabotaged him all along? What if he was innocent? The potential for clarity pulled me into an obsessive investigation. The next day, I decided to pay a visit to the coffee shop where Daniel often met his friends. I had overheard snippets about Taylor from my own circle, and I figured it was time to confront the ghosts of our past. As I entered the cafe, the familiar scent of brewed coffee enveloped me, but I was more focused on gathering information than enjoying the ambiance. I spotted Mike sitting at a corner table, laptop open, seemingly absorbed in whatever he was working on. I approached cautiously, my heart pounding as I wondered if he would be willing to help me uncover the truth about Taylor. "Hey, Mike," I greeted, forcing a smile. "Do you have a minute?" He looked up, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. "Sarah, sure, what's going on?" "I need to talk about Daniel. It's complicated." I took a seat across from him, lowering my voice. "Have you heard anything about his ex, Taylor?" Mike's expression shifted, a hint of unease in his eyes. "Why are you asking about her?" "Because I think she might have played a role in all this," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "I found out that Daniel was framed for something he didn't do. I need to know if there's more to the story." He paused, studying me for a moment before responding. "Look, Taylor is trouble. I didn't know the details, but Daniel always seemed haunted by that relationship. He's never talked about it much. Can you find out what happened? Please?" My desperation was evident, and I could see Mike wrestle with the idea. "All right, I'll ask around," he finally said, his tone serious. "But you need to be careful. This could blow up in your face." I nodded, appreciating his willingness to help. As I left the cafe, my mind raced with possibilities. What if I could clear Daniel's name? What if I could prove that I hadn't been the one manipulating our lives? I was desperate for a chance at reconciliation, but I knew I had to tread carefully. That evening, I confronted Daniel in a moment of reckless courage. I found him in the living room, his expression distant as he scrolled through his phone. "Daniel, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady despite the whirlwind inside me. "About what?" he replied, not looking up. "About Taylor. I think she's behind the rumors. I found out some things that might change everything." He finally looked at me, his brows furrowed in skepticism.
Are you really going to defend her, after everything?
It's not about defending her. It's about uncovering the truth. She framed you, I blurted out, the words spilling from my lips. I need you to believe me. Daniel stood up, the tension in the room thickening.
You expect me to just take your word for it? You've already accused me of infidelity. What makes you think you aren't involved in this?
My heart sank at his words. I'm not involved. I just want to help you. We can fix this together. He shook his head, stepping back as if I had struck him.
You don't get it, Sarah. I can't trust you anymore. You've shown your true colors.
As he turned away, a cold wave of despair washed over me. I had thought honesty would bridge the gap between us, but instead, it seemed to widen it even further. My phone buzzed in my pocket, breaking the silence. I pulled it out, my heart racing as I saw an unknown sender had messaged me. I opened the video, and my breath caught in my throat. It showed Daniel in a compromising situation, too close to another woman, laughter and intimacy spilling from the screen. My mind spun as I watched, disbelief mingled with dread. I looked up at Daniel, who had turned back towards me, his expression shifting from anger to confusion.
What is it?
He asked, and I held the phone out to him, my hands trembling. This changes everything, I whispered, my heart pounding as I considered the implications of what I had just seen. In that moment, both of our futures hung in the balance, and I realized with a sinking feeling that the battle between us was far from over.